969 millibars. That's the central pressure of the storm system hammering the East Coast right now. You need to hear what that means. 969 millibars is equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane. This is a bomb cyclone dropping 24 millibars in 24 hours, and it's creating blizzard conditions that are rapidly intensifying as I record this Saturday evening. Are you in the path of what's coming next? Over the next 20 minutes, I am breaking down exactly when the worst conditions hit your city, how much additional snow is still coming overnight, and why the Arctic blast behind this storm could be even more dangerous than the blizzard itself. Drop your location in the comments right now. I mean it. I am going live tomorrow morning with updated snowfall totals and personalized forecasts based on every city mentioned tonight. Tell me where you are, what you are seeing outside your window right now, how much snow you've already received. The more specific you get, the better tomorrow's forecast will be for your exact location. I am reading every single comment. Here is what you stayed for. Outer Banks, North Carolina, wind gusts screaming to 50 miles per hour right now with whiteout conditions. Upstate South Carolina, another 4 to 7 inches still coming overnight on top of what you've already received. Some areas reporting over a foot on the ground already. Northeastern North Carolina, 6 to 8 more inches before this ends. Cape Cod, Massachusetts, 1 to 2 inches coming tomorrow morning into afternoon. Nova Scotia, you are about to get absolutely destroyed with over 20 inches possible in some spots in blizzard conditions Sunday evening into Monday. But here's what nobody is talking about, the wind chills behind this system. Miami dropping into the mid-20s to mid-30s for wind chill. Key West, the Florida Keys, feeling like the 30s. That is unprecedented cold pushing that far south. The scope of what's happening right now is staggering. A bomb cyclone is offshore, intensifying as we speak. This evening, the central pressure sits at 996 millibars just off North Carolina. By noon tomorrow, 974 millibars. By the time it reaches Nova Scotia, 969. Some ensemble members showing this storm bottoming out in the 950s range. To put that in perspective, that's hurricane force low pressure in the middle of winter. That is how you get 40-foot waves a few hundred miles east of the mid-Atlantic. 40-foot waves. This storm is generating ocean swells that will eventually crash into Europe by the middle of next week. Winter storm warnings remain in effect across most of the Carolinas, northeast Georgia, southern Virginia. These aren't precautionary warnings. These are life-threatening snow accumulations with blizzard conditions. Winter weather advisories surround that core area where travel is still possible, but extremely hazardous. And then look at the freeze warnings. Coastal Texas through Louisiana Bayou country, southern Georgia, southeast Alabama, the entire state of Florida under freeze warnings. When Florida gets freeze warnings in early February, Arctic air has taken over. Reports are flooding in from across the Carolinas. 8 inches here, 10 inches there. Over a foot in multiple locations, and it's still snowing heavily. Some people in Wilmington and Raleigh seeing dry slots, and I know that created confusion. Let me explain what's happening. Dry air has temporarily infiltrated parts of the storm, but that's filling back in as we speak. Those dry areas will see snow return and intensify through the mid and late evening hours. Snowfall rates could exceed 1 inch per hour when the heaviest bands set up. That continues through the overnight hours into the early morning Sunday. This happens in distinct phases. Phase 1 is happening right now. Heavy snow across the Carolinas with the storm rapidly intensifying offshore. Phase 2 begins after midnight when the heaviest snow bands really crank up across northeastern North Carolina and the Outer Banks. Phase 3 is Sunday morning when most of the snow pushes offshore but dangerous wind chills take over. Phase 4 is Sunday afternoon and evening when Nova Scotia gets absolutely buried. And Phase 5, which might be the most dangerous, is the sustained Arctic blast that settles in behind this storm and refuses to leave. Here's what makes this storm particularly vicious. The pressure is dropping so fast that winds are screaming. When you have rapid pressure falls like this, the pressure gradient between the low offshore and the high pressure over land becomes extreme. That gradient drives wind. Outer Banks experiencing sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour with gusts over 50. That wind is taking existing snow on the ground and blowing it around. Visibility drops to under a quarter mile. Some isolated spots reporting complete whiteout conditions where you literally cannot see 5 feet in front of you. By 7 or 8 a.m. Sunday morning, most of the snow starts clearing the Outer Banks and pushing offshore. Myrtle Beach and Wilmington might see a few lingering snow showers, but the bulk of the precipitation moves away. Cold, dry, Arctic air builds in behind the system. That S when the wind chill danger really intensifies. But before the snow ends, we've got hours of dangerous conditions ahead. The meteorology behind this is textbook bombogenesis. When a surface low-pressure system's central pressure drops at least 24 millibars in 24 hours, meteorologists call it a bomb cyclone. This storm meets that criteria easily. It's bombing out right now as I record this. The upper-level energy is digging hard, creating a tight circulation at the surface. When you get that kind of vertical stacking of low pressure, storms intensify explosively. Add in the temperature contrast between Arctic air over land and relatively warmer ocean water, and you've got all the ingredients for a monster storm. Both the European and American models have been in excellent agreement on this system for days. When models converge this far in advance, confidence goes way up. The exact placement of the heaviest snow bands can still shift by 20 or 30 miles, which matters a lot for cities on the edge of the warning area. But the overall setup is locked in. Major coastal storm, blizzard conditions for the Carolinas, and eventually Nova Scotia. Dangerous Arctic blast behind it. What comes after this storm is what really concerns me. Because this isn't just a quick hit. The pattern behind this system funnels Arctic air straight down from Canada and parks it over the eastern United States. We're re-looking at the coldest air of the season, not just for the eastern U.S., but specifically for Florida. When the upper-level trough digs that far south this early in February, temperatures crash. Just like I promised, here is your detailed breakdown. I am varying my delivery because nobody wants a robotic list for the next 10 minutes. Let us start with the areas getting crushed right now. Northeastern South Carolina, you are in the thick of it. Upstate areas already reporting significant accumulation. Another 4 to 7 inches still coming overnight. That S on top of what S already on the ground. Some communities could end up with over a foot of total snow before this ends. Roads are impassable. Power outages are being reported as heavy, wet snow weighs down tree limbs and power lines. If you re-in upstate South Carolina, you re-not going anywhere until Monday at the earliest. The Outer Banks of North Carolina, you re-experiencing the worst conditions right now. This is where the storm is closest to shore. Wind gusts are easily hitting 40 to 50 miles per hour. 6 to 8 more inches of snow coming through the overnight hours. But it's not just the snow, it's the blowing and drifting. That wind is creating massive snowdrifts. You could have 3 inches in one spot and 18 inches 50 feet away where the wind piled it up. Visibility is under a half mile, dropping to a quarter mile or less in the heaviest bands. Complete whiteout conditions in some areas. If you are on the Outer Banks right now, stay inside. Do not attempt to travel. This is life-threatening weather. Wilmington, you've seen some dry slots, and I know that's been confusing. Some people wondering if the storm is falling apart. It's not. That dry air is temporary. Snow is filling back in as we go through the evening. You are still looking at several more inches overnight. The heaviest snow might be done by early Sunday morning, but you've got hours of snow ahead. Roads will be snow-covered and icy. The port shuts down, obviously. This much snow in a coastal city creates problems that last for days. Raleigh and the Triangle, similar situation with the dry air, that S filling back in. Snow intensifies again through the evening and overnight hours. You wake up Sunday morning to significant additional accumulation. The Research Triangle Park will be shut down Sunday. State government offices closed. This is a multi-day recovery event for the capital region. Charlotte, you're on the western edge of the heaviest snow, but you are still dealing with significant impacts. You've already been through hell with ice last week. Now you are getting more snow. Travel remains dangerous through the weekend. The Queen City can catch a break this winter. Moving up to southern Virginia, you are in winter storm warnings for good reason. Substantial snowfall accumulations expected overnight. This pushes north but weakens as it does. Richmond sees some snow, but nothing like what the Carolinas are experiencing. Same for the D.C. metro area. You get some flakes, but the heavy stuff stays south. Now let's talk about what S coming for Massachusetts. Cape Cod, your window is Sunday morning into afternoon. This is interesting because most of the storm energy is pushing offshore, but that circulation is large enough that it wraps back some snow into southeastern Massachusetts. Not a major event for you, 1 to 2 inches expected. But combined with strong winds off the Atlantic, you could see some blowing and drifting snow. Visibilities drop under a half mile at times Sunday afternoon. South of Boston, especially the Cape, this is where the snow focuses. North of Boston, you see much less. But here's where this storm really shows its power. Nova Scotia, you need to pay very close attention. Sunday evening into Monday morning, you're getting hit with a full-scale blizzard. This storm passes just south and east of you as a 969 millibar system, some models showing it even deeper than that. The tight pressure gradient means screaming winds. Snow rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour are expected across central and eastern Nova Scotia. Total accumulations over a foot in many areas. Eastern portions could see 20 inches in some spots. Whiteout conditions expected. This is a dangerous, crippling blizzard. Travel will be impossible. You need to be prepared now before this hits Sunday evening. The waves this storm is generating tell you how powerful it is. 40-foot waves a few hundred miles east of the mid-Atlantic. These are enormous ocean swells. Ships are avoiding this area. These waves eventually propagate across the Atlantic and will impact Europe by February 5th or 6th. If you were in Europe wondering where those high waves come from, they originate from this winter storm hitting the eastern U.S. right now. Elsewhere across the country, the northern plains are dealing with their own snow. Eastern Nebraska, eastern Dakotas, western Minnesota seeing snow this evening. This becomes more widespread across Minnesota overnight into early Sunday. Twin Cities, Duluth, Bismarck, all seeing snowfall. This isn't a blockbuster event. This is a clipper system bringing lighter amounts, maybe an inch here or there, enough to whiten the ground and make roads slippery but not crippling amounts. The snow spreads into Wisconsin Sunday. La Crosse, Madison, eventually reaching Rockford and Peoria, Illinois, and Chicago by Sunday afternoon. Again, light amounts, just enough to create hazardous travel. Northern Minnesota could see a couple areas getting upwards of 2 inches north of the Twin Cities by Monday morning. Not a major snow event, but enough to make things treacherous if you are traveling. But here's what just got a lot more serious. The cold behind this storm. Look at the upper-level trough. By Sunday morning, it's sitting over Florida. That is extremely far south, even for early February standards. When the trough digs that deep, Arctic air floods south with it. This is the coldest air of the season for the entire eastern United States. Specifically for Florida, this is air you haven't seen all winter. Wind chills Saturday evening are already below zero across much of the east. As we go into Sunday morning, wind chills could drop to single digits above zero for Tallahassee, Gainesville, Orlando, Jacksonville, Panama City. The Big Bend area of Florida, you re-looking at wind chill temperatures in the teens. Tampa Bay and Naples, teens for wind chills. Miami, even getting into Key West, wind chills ranging from the mid-20s to mid-30s. That is exceptionally far south for Arctic air to penetrate. The Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Northeast, you are seeing sub-zero wind chills through Sunday. Bundle up if you're heading outdoors. This isn't a just uncomfortable cold. This is dangerous cold. Exposed skin can freeze quickly in wind chills this low, and just when you thought you could catch a break, there's more snow coming next week. Late next week, Thursday morning, February 5th, energy drops southeast out of Canada into the Great Lakes region. This is your 500 millibar vorticity. The brighter the colors, the more spin and lift in the atmosphere. This tightens up like a cinnamon roll as it digs south. That is going to bring cold air aloft and snow with it. You might see some lake effect snow and weak systems earlier in the week, Monday into Tuesday. But the real clipper system comes down from Alberta heading into Friday, February 6th. This overspreads the Great Lakes region with light to moderate pockets of snow. Could be a wintry mix further west where temperatures are becoming more mild. This drops into the mid-Atlantic and northeast. The Appalachians, including West Virginia, could see pretty decent snowfall accumulations. The latest 12Z European model shows at least a couple to a few inches across the Great Lakes and southern Canada. But the Appalachians in West Virginia see several inches. The GFS model at 12Z is even more aggressive with snowfall in West Virginia, especially in the central Appalachians. We're rewatching this closely as we go into next weekend, about a week from today. Here S, where the pattern gets really interesting long range. Arctic air will be modifying across the southeast as we go into early February between the 1st and 8th. Mild Pacific air continues moving across western Canada and the western U.S. in general, especially from the plains westward to the coast. A ridge of high pressure builds across those areas, keeping them warm and dry. The teleconnections heading into the middle of February show we re-hovering around neutral right now. That gives us more wiggle room in the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada. Instead of seeing plain warm weather by the middle and end of February, maybe some colder, more Arctic air moves in as the East Pacific Oscillation hovers around neutral and gets into the positive range. That opens the door to cold air out west. What also opens the door to cold air is the stratospheric polar vortex. Notice it's splitting into two lobes. The main lobe is over Asia and Europe. Another lobe sits over North America. When the polar vortex splits, it typically takes about 2 weeks to see that air leaking from the stratosphere down to the surface of the Earth. That's exactly what we could see. Remember about a week ago I said as we go into early February, we'd see a moderating trend in temperatures? When you have a major cold blast that moves into the eastern United States for a 7 to 10 day period, you typically see a rapid spike in temperatures afterward. I think that rapid spike happens in the second week of February, between the 8th and 15th. We thaw things out a little bit, but the cold is not done. It is reloading back up near the Arctic. Then as we go from the 15th through the 22nd, notice the pattern. Cold air has a one-way ticket from Russia and the Arctic all the way down through Canada into the central and eastern U.S. and down to the Gulf Coast, getting into the Texas coastline. Northern Mexico could be affected, northern Florida as well. It sticks around as we go into the last week of February, the 22nd through 28th, especially further east. But notice even the Pacific Northwest could be vulnerable to colder air at times. Places like Montana and Wyoming that haven't seen much cold this season could finally get their turn. Snowfall forecast trends for early February focus on clipper systems dropping out of Canada and nor'easter threats. As we go from the 8th through 15th, we could be dealing with more mountain snow out west as a western United States trough develops. Lower pressure out west means snow showers for the mountains. The east may be dealing with a ridge, and if that's the case, we'll see less snow until around the third week of February. I think there's a bigger winter storm with heavier snow somewhere across the central and eastern United States on the leading edge of that Arctic and Siberian air. Pinpointing exactly where is difficult this far out, but there's a pretty good signal for the Northeast to see some heavy snow in the last week of February, the 22nd through 28th. That is something we'll watch closely as we get within a month of that time frame. But let's bring this back to the immediate threats because that's what matters right now. Snow is still falling heavily across the Carolinas as I record this. The next several hours are critical. Midnight to 6 a.m. Sunday morning is when the heaviest bands set up over northeastern North Carolina and the Outer Banks. Snowfall rates over 1 inch per hour. Winds gusting to 50 miles per hour. Visibility near zero. These are life-threatening conditions. Do not travel. By 7 a.m. Sunday, the snow starts pushing offshore for most areas. A few lingering snow showers around Myrtle Beach and Wilmington, but the bulk moves away. Then the wind chill danger intensifies. Arctic air floods in behind the storm. Sunday morning wind chills drop into dangerous territory across the entire eastern United States. For those of you in Florida, this is cold you are not equipped to handle. Pipes in attics and unheated spaces are vulnerable. Let faucets drip overnight Saturday and Sunday. Open cabinet doors under sinks to let warm air circulate. Protect sensitive vegetation. Cover plants if possible. Check on elderly neighbors who might not realize how cold it's getting or might be trying to save money by keeping heat too low. Iguanas could fall from trees in southern Florida. This sounds funny, but it's surreal. When temperatures drop into the 40s for extended periods, iguanas become lethargic and literally fall out of trees. They are not dead, just cold, stunned. They'll revive when it warms up, but it's an indication of just how cold this air mass is for that latitude. The Great Lakes and Northeast, in frostbite territory Sunday. Wind chills well below zero. Exposed skin can freeze in 15 to 30 minutes. Layer up. Cover all exposed skin. Hat over your ears. Gloves, not pockets. Scarf or face covering over your nose and mouth. Power outages are a real concern across the Carolinas tonight. Heavy wet snow is weighing down tree limbs and power lines. Some outages already being reported. If you lose power in this cold, focus on heating one room. Close off the rest of the house. Use blankets and layers. Never use outdoor equipment like grills or generators indoors. Carbon monoxide kills silently. Travel is essentially impossible across the winter storm warning area tonight and into Sunday morning. Roads are snow-covered and icy. Visibility is under a quarter mile in many areas. Whiteout conditions reported in the heaviest bands. Even if you have four-wheel drive, you cannot drive in whiteout conditions. You literally cannot see where you're going. Stay home. Whatever you think you need to do can wait until Monday. The blizzard hitting Nova Scotia Sunday evening into Monday is going to be severe. 1 to 2 inch per hour snow rates. 20 inches possible in eastern areas. Screaming winds creating massive drifts. Whiteout conditions. This is a stay inside and wait it out situation. Make sure you restocked up on supplies before this hits Sunday evening. Once it starts, you are not going anywhere until Monday afternoon at the earliest. Timeline recap with different wording. Right now through midnight Saturday, heavy snow continues across the Carolinas with blizzard conditions on the Outer Banks. Midnight to 6 a.m. Sunday, the absolute worst conditions across northeastern North Carolina. Peak snowfall rates and lowest visibility, 6 a.m. to noon. Sunday, snow pushes offshore for most areas, but wind chills become the dominant threat. Sunday afternoon, Cape Cod sees 1 to 2 inches with gusty winds. Sunday evening into Monday, Nova Scotia gets absolutely buried with blizzard conditions. Monday and beyond, Arctic air settles in and refuses to leave. The coldest air of the season for the east. Dangerous wind chills from Florida to Maine. What you need to do by when. If you are in the Carolinas, you should already be home and staying there. Do not attempt to travel tonight or Sunday morning. Power outage preparation should be complete. Flashlights, batteries, ways to heat at least one room if electricity goes out. Nova Scotia, you have until Sunday afternoon to prepare. After that, travel becomes impossible. Stock up now. Florida and the Southeast, protect pipes Saturday night and Sunday night. Let water drip. Open cabinets. Those are your critical cold nights. Tomorrow's update will be crucial. I am going live Sunday morning with verified snowfall totals from overnight. Updated wind chill forecasts as we see how cold it actually gets. Refined forecast for that Clipper system coming late next week. And more discussion on the long-range pattern, including that potential major storm in late February you need to see tomorrow as broadcast. Make sure you resubscribed. We reapproaching 150,000 subscribers, and I'd love to hit that milestone tonight. Subscribing is absolutely free. Doesn't cost a penny. Turn on the bell notifications so you are alerted when I go live tomorrow morning. This situation is still evolving. Model runs come in every 6 hours. Conditions change. Forecasts get updated. Drop your location in the comments one more time. Tell me where you are. Tell me what you're seeing, how much snow you've received, what you're most concerned about. The blizzard conditions, the Arctic cold, the potential for more snow next week. I'm reading every comment tonight and using them to shape tomorrow's live coverage. The more specific you are, the more personalized the forecast becomes. Critical preparation reminder. Snow areas, stay inside through Sunday morning. This is not travel weather. Wind chill areas, which is basically everyone east of the Mississippi, bundle up, layer properly, limit time outdoors, check on vulnerable people, elderly neighbors, anyone with medical conditions, young children. Homeless populations in every city are at extreme risk. If you can volunteer at warming shelters or donate supplies, local organizations need help. What concerns me most looking at the data is the duration of this cold. This isn't a quick shot that moderates in 2 days. This Arctic air digs in and holds on. Florida gets some relief by mid-next week, but the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic stay locked in below-average temperatures for an extended period. Then we watch that potential reload of even colder air in the 3rd week of February. The pattern we re-in favors repeated systems, clippers dropping out of Canada, potential coastal storms. The polar vortex splitting creates instability that allows Arctic air to spill south more easily. This could be an active rest of February for winter weather. See you tomorrow morning with live coverage, updated snowfall totals, verified wind chills, refined forecasts for next week. You want to miss it. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, share this with anyone in the path of this storm. Stay safe, stay warm, stay inside if you were in the